Dumont Owen here, and today is Wednesday. And I absolutely love Wednesdays. You know why? Because I get to talk to you. And today I get to talk to you about brands. And that is absolutely, well, that is my favorite topic. And talking about building your brand and promoting your brand on LinkedIn is my second favorite topic. So today it's all going to be about branding. And I'd like to, hold on, I'm going to pull up a slide because I want to show you something. Okay, if you want to have Facebook show your name, Facebook doesn't have to show your name, but if you would like your name to show up in the comments when you say something, when you comment on something or ask a question, go to this link, https://streamyard.com/Facebook. StreamYard is the platform that I use to stream. And for those of you who have not gotten into live streaming on LinkedIn at this point, first of all, I encourage you to do it because it's just a ball. But secondly, in order to, you can stream on LinkedIn with Zoom, although it's kind of difficult. But if you want to stream to more than one platform, for instance, right now I'm streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So you could be on any of those platforms and be able to see this. So StreamYard is the platform, the streaming platform that I use. And I have to tell you, it is really easy to use. It's, well, let me put a slight caveat there. The first time I used StreamYard, everything went perfectly. I had to do it 8 more times before I got a perfect one again. And by perfect, I don't mean no mistakes. I just mean I remembered to turn on record, or I remembered to make sure that you could hear me, those kinds of things, you know, just minor things. So today, for those of you who have not been with me in the past, we are going to be talking about branding. And by that, I mean personal branding and digital branding, because both of these fall in that same area. Personal branding is what it says, our personal brand. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, what goes into our personal brand and how we can discover what our brand is, because, you know, depending on how you want to look at this, you already have a brand. So depending on how you want to look at it, that could be either good news or bad news. But we all have a brand. And if you want to really know about your brand, a great way is to get feedback from other people. I'm not saying that other people know you better than you know yourself, but they may have a slightly different perspective on you, and they might have a different perspective on you depending on what their relationship is with you. You know, they might be faculty or a former boss or a sibling or one of your high school friends, and they're going to have a very different opinion, or, well, not necessarily opinion, but they're going to have a different perspective on who you are than you may have yourself. So we already have a brand, and that brand exists in the hearts and minds of those who know us or know of us. Somebody once said, your brand is what people say when you leave the room, you know, and that's as good a definition as I can think of, because your brand is all about your reputation. And if you are on social media, if you are doing business using social media, then you need to be brand conscious. You need to understand what your brand is, and then be consistent be consistent in the way you put that out there. Because you know, one of the key characteristics of a powerful brand is authenticity. It's being who you are. And we can try to come across as someone else, but It usually doesn't work because we don't know how to carry it off, and we do so much better in terms of whether it's video or live streaming or writing or doing a podcast audio. We'll always come across better if we do that. Hold on just a second. I'm going to mute myself. All right, sorry about that. One of my colleagues is monitoring from the other room and couldn't get into the program. So we'll just all promise to tell them about it later, right? Okay, so today we're talking about 10 ways to promote your brand on LinkedIn. And before we get started, I thought while I'm waiting for a few people to come on, that we could talk about some questions that might come up around brand. One of the big ones is, how do you know your brand? How do you figure out what your brand is? And there are a number of ways to do that, and some of them may appeal to you personally more than others. One way that I use with a lot of my clients, those who want to do it, is a personal branding survey called the 360 Reach. And the 360 Reach is great because first you answer the questions and then you send it out to people who know you well enough to be able to respond to the questions. Like they know what your values are and they know what your strengths are. And when we send that out, we gather the responses anonymously. So people feel like they can really say, tell the truth. And this asks questions about values. It asks questions about skills. It even asks some projective questions, like projective exercises, like, if it were for me, what kind of cereal is Dumont and why? Or if Dumont were an appliance, what kind of appliance would she be and why? So, there are some fun things there too. Now, another way to do it would be to, I call this adjectives, nouns, and verbs. Oh my. And that would be to answer the kinds of questions that surround your brand, like what are your skills? What are your values? What are your most prominent personality characteristics? And then sit down with a few people that you know well and share that with them and see whether they agree or disagree or have something else they'd like to add. Very often you'll find that they have something additional that they'd like to add or they'd like to tell you. And this is such valuable information. Because if you know how other people perceive you and you know what they see as your strengths, then you're really very close to being able to uncover your brand. So today what we're going to talk about is 10 ways to promote your brand on LinkedIn. And why do we want to talk about this, or why do I want to talk about this? Because the fastest way to get clients on LinkedIn, and I want you to hear this, the fastest way for you to get clients on LinkedIn is to promote a powerful brand. Okay, I'm going to say that again. The fastest way to get clients on LinkedIn is to promote a powerful brand. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about we're talking about brands and how they fit into LinkedIn, how LinkedIn looks at them, and how they figure in your ability to attract new clients, to get people to recognize you as an influencer. But we are also going to talk about how to promote that brand on LinkedIn, because that's really important. So let's get started. Okay, and I'm going to apologize for these slides. They're very hard to see, and I bolded them. So you know what? I'm going to stop looking at those for a minute because I can, well, it's not going to let me. It's not going to let me. So we are sharing these slides, but don't feel like if you can't see them very well, you're missing out, because I'm going to send out the slide decks with the replay, like I always do. You'll be getting the slide deck, the video recording, and you'll get a special aid that I have, or gift that I have for you. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about the LinkedIn Social Selling Index. Then we're going to talk about what a personal brand is and what goes into it. Then we're going to talk about 10 ways that you can actually promote your brand on LinkedIn. And then finally, I have a special gift for you to help you build your profile. So that's a pretty full agenda. Let's get started. All right. The first thing I want to talk to you about is the LinkedIn Social Selling Index. Now, if you haven't heard of that before, not to worry. It is something that most people aren't aware of or don't use. And that's a mistake, because the Social Selling Index measures and gives you an indication of how well you're doing, how well you're setting yourself up to do sales on LinkedIn. In other words, how well you're working the platform in a way that's going to give you an opportunity to sell. So the first part of, and it's a four-part, what I want to say, a four-part measurement, or it has four pillars, okay, four components. The first of these is promoting your professional brand. And that's exactly what it's talking about is, are you getting your brand out there? Are you motivating people? Are you doing the things that would establish your brand? For instance, publishing content, direct messaging, all of those things that can help establish your brand. So the scores on the LinkedIn profile, or LinkedIn Social Selling Index, it's a total score of 100, and each one of these pillars has a possible score of 25%. Now, as a general measurement, LinkedIn says that if you have a social selling index score, an SSI, of 70 or above, you are doing well. They look at that as someone who is doing a good job in terms of social selling. If you have a score of 80 or above, you're golden. So that's what you're shooting for. And at the end, I'm going to tell you how to find your social selling index score for free, or I will put it in the resources I send it to you, because right now I'm not sure if I put it on this slide, in this slide deck. So, but don't panic, I'm going to get it to you. Okay, the second one is finding the right people. Oh, I think, yeah, okay. That's from somebody from LinkedIn. Okay, so the second one is finding the right people. That is how well you are using LinkedIn's advanced features to find the people who would be your ideal clients. So this is very, very important. The third one is engage with insights. And this is one that people sometimes have questions about, because it's not immediately evident. But what that means is that you are engaging with other people's content. You're liking or commenting or sharing other people's comment. And that actually does two things. One, you're doing a service to the person whose content you're sharing, because now your first degree connections can see that content, but you're also doing something for yourself. You are presenting yourself as an expert, someone who's in the know, somebody who's out there on LinkedIn interacting with other people, and that you're generous enough to share good information when you see it. So you're positioning yourself as an expert, as someone who's always in the know. And then the fourth thing is building relationships. And that's all about interacting with other people, direct messaging back and forth, getting those conversations going. Because the biggest thing that LinkedIn wants you to do is build relationships. That's That's the biggie, okay? That's the golden apple. So a total score for these would be 100% if you scored high in every single one. If you have 100%, then please drop it in the chat, because I've never met anyone who had 100% on the social selling index. But anyway, I will get that link to you, because you can, if you have Sales Navigator, you can access it directly, but they now also offer it for free versions. Okay, so let's talk about personal brands and what exactly a personal brand is. Well, in the world of Reach, I'm a Reach certified master personal and digital brand strategist. And in the world of Reach, we define it as a unique promise of value. It's unique because you are the only person in the world with that brand. There are other people who may be operating, maybe playing in the same sandbox with you, but they are not you. Every individual is unique. So the first thing that we know about a personal brand is that it must be unique and unique to you. The second part of our definition is promise, and that's all about authenticity. You know, you are promising to deliver the same way and the same results every time you go out there. So it's unique because it's just you. It's a promise because it's authentic, and it's value because that's what you do. You provide value. And when we're talking about value, there's something I want you to keep in mind. Something is of value only if it is relevant to the problems and challenges your potential clients have. You know, if I send you something and I offer you, I don't know, like, free tickets to, the next, I don't know, fabulous concert, and you don't care about it, you don't like that artist, or you don't like music, or you don't like that kind of music, then you're really not going to see that as much value, because it doesn't have any relevance to you. You know, if you're a dentist, or if my dentist sends to me an ad that says, free teeth cleaning this week. Well, if I want my teeth cleaned, I would probably see that as valuable because it's relevant to what I want right now. Maybe my problems right now. Maybe I feel like my teeth don't sparkle enough. So then I would see it as a value. But if it doesn't relate to something that I'm experiencing right now, I'm not going to see any value in it at all. So remember that a brand is your unique promise of value. Okay, so what goes into a personal brand? Well, a lot of things, but there are some that we can look at as major. Our goals, our vision, our purpose, our values, our passions, our interests, our avid interests would be our passions, our strengths, what are our superpowers? And then finally, our personal characteristics. And all of those go into your brand. So, I may share a vision with you, but I may share a very different purpose. For instance, my vision might be that small businesses, particularly coaches and consultants, are wildly successful on LinkedIn. But my purpose may be to work with, first-year coaches to get them off to a good start on LinkedIn. That would be different from someone who wanted to work with rising stars, people who were no longer startups. They were 10 years into their business and wanted something different. So we could have the same vision, but a different purpose. But all of those combined make our brand. Now, when you think about it, when you land on someone's profile, what are you looking for? One of the things you're looking for is if they are someone who might be able to solve the problems and challenges you're having right now. Another thing you may be looking for is personality characteristics. People say about me that I either have a weird sense of humor or I have a highly evolved sense of humor. Um, I'm not sure either one is correct, but I'd probably lean towards weird. But that might be something about you, about me. I'm sorry, not about you. About me that you would find interesting and would think, okay, I want to do business with her because I love weird senses of humor. So all of those things are part of our brand. Okay, what are the characteristics of a strong brand? Well, for one thing, it's clear. Your brand should be so clear that a 6-year-old can understand it. And that's pretty darn clear. Now, I know there are a bunch of really smart 6-year-olds out there. So maybe it could be a little fuzzy, but I don't think so. Because if you've been around many 6-year-olds, they have a habit of saying, why? Or how, and asking you to go further into it. So it's got to be clear so that they understand it. It has to be authentic. If your brand is not authentic, if you've taken elements from somebody else's brand and incorporated it into your brand, it's not going to work because people recognize authenticity and they also recognize when people are not authentic. So they're going to really understand what that means. Your brand also has to be consistent. It can't be one thing one day and another thing another day. If my personal brand is about helping coaches and consultants get more clients on LinkedIn in record time, then that needs to be what I talk about. That needs to be what goes into it and what I share. It has to be consistent all the way through. If I come across as very dry and academic one day, and the next day I'm kind of like wacky, that's not very consistent. Now, I have different parts to my personality, so there might be things that show up very consistently in different ways, but you're going to see the same components. Another thing that you need to have a strong brand is a story. We call that your brand story, and that is going to be incorporated into your LinkedIn profile in the About section. So what is your brand story? Well, think of that as your why, how you got here, because when people land on your profile, they want to know why you do what you do, why you want to help them. What's the reasoning behind that? And when you think about that, you might keep in mind a weight loss coach, who says in her brand story, she's never had to bother or worry about her weight. Her weight has always been perfect. She's always been able to eat anything she wants. And that's been her life of just, always having the perfect weight. Well, first of all, you'd have to define what the perfect weight is. And I don't know that any of us could agree on that. But secondly, if you are someone who's seeking to lose weight, are you really going to want someone who's never had to struggle with their weight help you? If that were me, if I wanted to lose weight and I landed on somebody's profile that said they were a weight loss coach, but as I read through it, they said, oh, I've never had any problems with weight. My weight's always been perfect. I don't think I'd want them to be my coach. How could they understand how could they understand my pain? How could they understand, what I feel when I meet new people and I think they are judging me because of my weight? So I probably wouldn't gravitate towards that person. But if I were looking for a wellness coach and somebody said, I still think I'd have questions about the perfect weight, but they said they don't struggle with their weight. They eat health because they eat a really healthy diet. And that's, they were raised doing that. That might be more of a brand story that would appeal to me. Your brand story is normally why you do what you do. And it starts with your struggle and then goes through that turning point, that change that came about, and then talks about where you are today. So for instance, if I were telling my brand story, I fell down the stairs, I guess it was about 7 years ago, and I fractured my pelvis in 5 places. And it took me a year. It took me literally a year before I could really walk without a walker, before I really got around. And during that time, I I was suffering. I was suffering both externally and internally. I lost that year. And I also lost my business because I just didn't have the energy to put in it. I just wasn't able to even think about it. So your story tells how you got here. And so when I lost my business, I had to find a way after that year to make money, and I had to make money fast. And I decided to become very active on LinkedIn. Why? Because 80% of leads on social media come from LinkedIn. And LinkedIn users have a higher average income than the users on other platforms. So I had a very good reason for it. And it worked out for me. It saved my business. I literally built my business on LinkedIn. Okay, another thing that goes into your brand is expertise. That's another quality of a strong brand, that you are an expert in your area, in your field. And then finally, a strong brand gives value, and it always gives value consistently and constantly. Okay. Whoop. All right, now I'm going to talk about 10 ways to promote your brand on LinkedIn. And these didn't show up very well, but I will send you these slides tomorrow, as I said, and you'll also get the recording. So the first way is to complete your profile. And by that, I mean to fill out every section of your profile. Don't miss a section, because the more complete your profile is, the higher you're going to be in search results. And there could be a number of reasons for this. One could just be that the LinkedIn algorithms support profiles that are complete. Another reason might be that having a complete profile, filling everything out completely, means that you have more room to use keywords and keyword phrases. And what are keywords and keyword phrases? Those are the terms that people enter into the LinkedIn search bar to find someone like you. So if you're a career coach, one of your key words may be career, right? It might be job search. It might, you might have the phrase career development, but all of those things, excuse me, would be a way to promote your brand. I apologize. I'm struggling with a little tickle in my throat, but we're going to get through this. Okay, the second one would be to add multimedia to your profile and in posts. So you can, on LinkedIn, depending on which kind of profile you choose, the standard LinkedIn profile, the one that you fill out right away, is a little bit different than the one that you have if you're in creator mode. Now, we don't have time to go into creator mode on this particular presentation, but I will be doing a presentation on it very soon. So, keep your eye on your inbox, because I'll be sending you information about that. Whichever mode you're in, you can add social media, articles, posts, images, whatever you want to your LinkedIn profile. And that is so important, because that gives people a chance to get to know you. You might have a short video on there. It may only be 2 minutes, but it greets people and it lets them know a little bit about you. Maybe it talks about what you do. Maybe it talks about your company, or maybe it's a link to a free gift. I might put one of my guides on my profile so that people could find it. So you want to add multimedia to your profile in the form of videos and audio and images. But you want to make sure that you also do it in your posts so that people have a lot of opportunities. Oh, Terese, yes, ask a question. I think you will have to put it in the chat. Hold on, let me see if no, I should be able to see it. Terese, I think you're going to have to put your question in the chat. I'll keep going, but I'm going to check back with you in a minute. And if not, email me. I'm going to check my email before I get off. Email me at dumontowen.com, and I'll check my email before I end the presentation. Okay, a third way to promote your brand is to create a company page. And this used to not be a particularly big deal because company pages were just kind of company pages. You couldn't do a whole lot with them. Well, now you can do a lot with company pages, including live stream. You can, when you live stream from your company page instead of from your profile, you can actually get those registrations off your company page. So that makes a big difference. For instance, I'll do that, but I'll use it to distribute the replay of this. So creating a company page and branding it is a great way to promote your brand. You might include your logo. Or you might include, hold on, I'm going to check and see if, no, it's not going to let me, no, Terese, it's not going to let you post. It says LinkedIn doesn't support posting questions, but email it to me and I will answer it before we get off of here. So a company page, you might use your brand colors, or you might use your logo, or you might spotlight some of your best programs. So you can make a company page really valuable, and it will really help promote your brand. Okay, another way is to engage with insights. And I mentioned this before. That means that you are interacting with content that other people post. For instance, Terese might post something about, I happen to know that Terese helps people find the right franchises to start a second career, or maybe even their first career. So she could post something and I might go on there and say, oh, this is really interesting, Terese. May I ask a question about that? Or I might go, Terese, this is really cool. I'm going to share it with my audience. And all of that would be engaging with insights. Okay, you might also share relevant information. For instance, many of my clients are coaches and consultants. So I might find an article that is just would just be great information for them. And I can share that on LinkedIn in the newsfeed. Okay. Okay, another way is to participate in groups. Now, groups used to be really great on LinkedIn, and I'm kind of looking to see if there's going to be a hook that comes in and drags me off screen. And a lot of them still are. I mean, you can really get to know a lot of people and engage with people who could be your ideal clients in groups. What you want to do is look for a group that isn't totally spam filled. You want to look for a group where people have conversations, where they may post their latest article, and ask people questions, but you don't want to be in a group that's just spam. And unfortunately, a lot of LinkedIn groups have become really spammy. LinkedIn groups used to be the best thing about LinkedIn, so I'm hoping that they're going to do something to bring that ability back, because they were great. They were really great. Okay, another way to promote your brand is through high quality content. And by that, I mean, content that's relative, right? Or relevant to the problems and challenges that your ideal clients face. And we talked about this a little while back. Quality content means content that is both well presented, it's well constructed, and it's valuable. And remember that to be valuable, it has to be relevant. If it's not relevant to the people that you're trying to attract, then it's not going to be of much use. Okay, another way to promote your brand is to ask and answer questions. If you are a career coach, you might have a question like, what's the best way to figure out, oh wait, no, here's another one. How did you make your career choice, or how did you choose your career? A, talking through people. B, I saw a career coach. C, I took a bunch of assessments. D, other. And please comment below. So you can ask questions through polls. You can just throw a question out there. I'm researching a new course on how to make a great cake, how to bake a cake. And I'm wondering what your biggest challenges are when it comes to baking a cake. I would have a list of about 15 challenges when it comes to baking a cake, but some people tend to do it very well. And then finally, nurturing relationships. And that's part of your social selling index, where it talked about building relationships, because relationships is what LinkedIn's all about. That's what they want. They want you to engage with other people on the platform. So before I get to the next slide, I want to go to my email and see if I can see a message from Terese. Let me go up here. I'm not seeing it. Oh, Terese, I'm sorry. I'm not getting that message. But if you will send it to me, I'm sure if you're asking it, other people are asking it. So get that message to me, and I will answer it just as quickly as possible. I apologize. I don't know why, but I just checked it, and LinkedIn does not allow you to enter the chat, although I could swear I've seen a chat that way. So I'm going to research that and get back to you. Okay. Okay, I said if anybody have questions, I have my ears on, but you can only ask me a question if you're on Facebook. So I apologize for that. But if you have questions, and I have those big ears because I actually do have my ears on and they are wide open. I love getting questions. So get your questions to me and I promise to get those back to you. Okay, now here, and it's not going to let me do it that way. So I am going to drop in the chat a way for you to get, and it's not, is it going to let me go back? Yeah. Okay, a way for you to get my LinkedIn profile checklist. And it'll also be live in the ones that I ask. I think we have someone on Facebook who's helping me too. So that URL will get you to my free LinkedIn profile checklist. And this checklist is designed to take you step by step through building a LinkedIn profile that attracts your ideal clients and compels them to take action. And that's really what you want. You want them to take action. So, don't forget to get this, because it's a great tool. And once you get it, you will also receive a series of messages from me that tell you how to use the checklist to create a really powerful profile. And then finally, come on, don't do that. And then finally, and I'm going to drop these in the chat too, this is my contact information. So let me copy that and drop it for all of you. Okay. Not sure. Okay, so they're all in there. Now, what I'm seeing in right here is that LinkedIn allows you to read comments, but not to actually post them. That seems weird to me. I am going to check that out. So everybody, if you signed up for this and you can't be here in person, and those of you who are, I really appreciate, then keep an eye on your inbox, because we'll send you the video replay, we'll send you the slide deck, and I'll also send you the links that I have here. So this is a little shorter than I wanted. I wanted to take some more time with you today and answer a lot of questions, but we don't have a lot of questions, and that's okay, because what I really want to, and I'm going to stop this. Okay, what I really wanted to do was talk to you today about, oh, Terese, I'm going to check my email again. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. Good question, Terese. Terese asks, and I'm going to close this. Terese asks how you interact on your personal page and your company page. Well, they are two different things, and they work differently. Now, what I always advise people is to do most of your promotions and most of your posts and all of that from your profile, from your personal page, because people want to interact with people. They don't necessarily want to interact with companies. So most of the time, if you are posting something, you know, when you post something in the LinkedIn news feed, it's going to ask you, are you posting it? And there'll be a little toggle there. As like it would ask me, are you posting as Dumont Owen, or are you posting as Dumont and Associates? And I always post as Dumont Owen, because people are more inclined to ask questions and to interact with an individual. You know, we are flesh and blood. We are warm. We are, well, hopefully we're warm. If we're cold, we've got a real problem. But most of us, if we're alive, we are warm, and we have personalities, and people want to interact with people. We don't really want to interact with a corporation. And let me give an example of that. If you ran into a problem with, say, Xerox, well, no, let's use a different company, one that's more, okay, with Apple. Apple's a company that pretty much everybody knows. Would you rather ask a question? Would you rather talk to somebody in support, an individual, you know, who is going to be able to answer your questions and spend some time with you? Or are you more likely to use chat? And I think most of it, and get that computerized response, I think most of us would rather interact with a person. And I would be far more likely to ask questions and to post them to a live person, or a person I assumed was alive, than to a company. So a company is it's not necessarily bigger, but it's different. A company, we think of a company as a brick and mortar presence. You know, we think of it as a location, as a real construct that houses an office or people who are working in a particular business. And that's a lot different than working with a person. So when you think about, for instance, the different platforms we work on, say Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, are you more likely to ask questions and want to talk with, or to ask questions of, a real life person? Or would you rather do it through chat? For myself, I can tell you, I would much rather have a phone number and be able to talk to a real person. It just feels more honest. It feels more connected. And I feel like I might get better feedback that way. If I had a question and I had to go through chat, I think I'd be a little bit more inhibited about what I said. And I also would feel a little less cared about, if that's a word. I just had an incident with, and I'm not going to name the service or platform, but it's an online platform. It's not any of the social media platforms, but it's an online platform that I was trying to interact with. and they, for some reason, canceled my account, which was really problematic because that account had a lot of stuff that I use all the time. So I had a choice. Well, actually, I didn't have a choice. I wanted a phone number, and I looked high and low for a phone number that I could use to call them and say, did I do something wrong? Did I break a rule? Why have I been thrown off of this platform? Or using chat. And I ended up having to send a message, a chat message. And I really didn't appreciate that because I didn't feel like I could present my case, that I could really make it clear to them what the problem was. So for me, that was problematic. I did end up, I sent them a copy of my invoice and that I had paid and all of that. So I'm waiting to hear. Maybe I broke a rule and didn't mean to. In which case I apologize and I won't do it again. But in general, I think people prefer to work with people. And so that's why your profile is so important. And here's a little tip on how to make your profile more welcoming and more attractive to people who land on it. LinkedIn now allows you to do a 30-second video. Now, 30 seconds isn't very long, but they allow you to do a 30-second video. You can do it on your phone. You cannot do it, you cannot do it on a tablet, or maybe you can, but I'm not aware that you can do it on a tablet, but you can definitely do it. Yeah, you probably can. You can do it on your mobile device, not advice, device, and shoot a couple of videos. And in your video, you want to let people know who you are and who you help and how you help them and what the results are. This is your chance to let people see who you are and how you interact. So that's a really good way of giving people a little glimpse into your personality and to understand whether they, or to decide whether they really want to work with you or they don't. And either way, it's a win because you want people who want to work with you. You don't want people who are just going to sign up with you because you're the cheapest or you're the easiest. You want people who really want to work with you and want the services and programs that you provide. So your LinkedIn profile, your personal profile, and your company page are very different. They both have strengths. You can spotlight your programs for your company page much better, much more easily, and much more effectively than you can on your profile. So they both have advantages. And what I would suggest is that you work on both to make sure that they're both activated and doing you the best service. Okay, so, and I can see I'm watching my camera here, and apparently, see that? I'm jiggling my desk as I stand on it. So hands off. I am going to send the replay out tomorrow along with the slides and the links. So for now, this is Dumont Owen saying ta-ta for now.